Douglas.
Thomas.
Thomas. It's Jason Goodman. How are you? I was just listening to your broadcast from, I guess, a few minutes ago, and I'm sure I must have misunderstood because it sounds like you're accusing me of something.
Yeah.
What?
I'm accusing you of not getting back to me after being all anxious about talking to me, and this is like the fourth time that you've tried this, and so
Wait a
I'm
second.
tired of you. I'm done.
Wait a second. I've sent you messages. You sent me a text at 11 p.m. saying you just saw my message and now it's too late, tomorrow is fine. And then the following day, I sent you a message that said I'm on a flight. I was traveling back from Texas, and I said perhaps we can chat tomorrow, being Sunday, or Monday. Monday night at 7 p.m., which is tonight, is Harmon Wilford, America's first refugee. He's planning to lambaste M. Horowitz. Would you be interested in doing a show about him before Harmon? Sort of build on what Harmon will say. If that works, possibly Monday afternoon, which is today that I'm talking about. And then today I texted you again saying, hi, Douglas, are you available to speak today?
Okay, I don't understand any of that, why I'd be included in an interview with somebody else.
No,
and I
wait
really
a
don't
minute.
understand because you haven't spoken with me personally about what we would be speaking about.
Let me clarify. I'm not suggesting...
And I guess I missed your messages I saw that, but that isn't how I interpreted what was happening. So I basically wrote you off.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Let me clarify, because what I've just said to you is not suggesting that you be involved in an interview with someone else.
And I flipped my phone over and touched the wrong button. But listen, Jason, I'm really not interested because my point of view on Horowitz has always been correct, and I'm not changing it.
I'm not asking you to change it. I contacted you because I told you I have now come to believe it's possible I was misled on Horowitz, and that someone who I trust, who has firsthand experience with him, is doing a show tonight saying that Horowitz is deep state, that Horowitz has been defending the Clintons, and that Horowitz is the swamp. That's why I got back in touch with you.
We put out an intelligence report on that months and months ago. We've been speaking that way all
Thomas,
along.
let me finish, because we're not communicating clearly. Let me finish what I'm saying here, because I'm a little bit troubled that you keep jumping to conclusions with what I'm saying, and they're the wrong conclusions. I initially became aware of you when someone came on my show named Dr. Steven. Dr. Steven, who I don't know personally, came on the show and said, Horowitz is fantastic, he's going to drain the swamp. Then people started emailing me your intelligence assessment, which said that Horowitz was terrible. And I said, well, gee, I don't know this guy, Thomas Paine. I know Thomas Paine from True Pundit. I'm not sure who to believe. I contacted Betsy and I said, would you like to come on my show and debate Dr. Steven and tell me what I don't know about Horowitz? Betsy said okay, and then the next thing I know, you went on Lionel and stopped returning my phone calls. So I wrote you off. Then new information came to me.
What does Lionel have to do with it? I went on Lionel and did what?
No, nothing.
What's that got to do?
It's got nothing to do with it other than the timing. When I contacted Betsy, she literally said to me, we were working towards an interview with you, and then she literally said to me, well, he's on Lionel right now, and the third party who had connected me to you and Betsy said, I guess Lionel beat you to the punch, and then I didn't hear anything from you guys. I was communicating with Betsy, and you weren't responding to me, so I presumed you didn't want to be on my show for whatever reason. A couple weeks went by, and I didn't communicate with you at all because I don't know you, and I don't know what your agenda is. Then I got this new information that indicated someone with firsthand experience with Horowitz and evidence that showed that Horowitz was obstructing justice and not pursuing an investigation that he should have been pursuing. Then I contacted you again, and I said, I now have a new perspective, and I believe you may be correct. So I contacted you, and we were communicating about doing an interview, just you and I, today, for you to share with me what you know about Horowitz, because I'm doing an interview tonight, in 2 hours, with Harmon Wilford, a CIA whistleblower who has firsthand experience with Horowitz. Now,
well, then you don't need me, because I've already given all the evidence that should put him in jail. He was the biggest fixer. He traveled around, and we put in our intelligence report the exact companies where and when for years where he was paid by corporations to teach them how to cheat in their lawsuits that the government brings against them. And then he is the number one person working with Chandler, James Chandler, who's the biggest fixer, in Washington, D.C., And that's who trained him on training all the federal judges on how to make decisions in how to sentencing. He is the king of sentencing. He is corrupt. Every position he's had has been corrupt all the way up through. He is following the same path that Comey, that Mueller, that Preet Bharara, all these people follow the same path, and he became an inspector general. He's as crooked as he can possibly be. And let me just point something out. He, by law, must bring to surface any crimes. And when he brings them, he's already got the evidence, so there doesn't need to be an investigation. There needs to be a prosecution. And he is a gray hat, only because just like Michael Rogers, who's become a gray hat instead of a white hat or a black hat because he was saving his ass, same with Michael Horowitz. But mark my words, Bruce Orr got off, Peter Strzok got off, Lisa Page got off, Andrew McCabe got off with nothing, with the slightest tap on his hand. He's SES. He still gets his retirement. It's a lie. He doesn't get his retirement. He's SES. And by the way, where's your stand on SES? I threw that down the gauntlet on everyone.
I've been trying to contact you all weekend, and you're telling me that you've written me off without even looking at my messages, and you're putting out statements about me to an audience of 60,000 people where you're accusing me of doing something.
Did I say your name?
Yes.
Yes, I think I did. Yes, Jason, listen, I now know exactly who you are.
Who do you think that I am?
I don't think.
Tell me who you know that I am. Please tell me.
Did you hear our other audios today?
I listened to one right now where you mentioned my name in something called Alternative Media Wars Are Raging, and I stopped 3 minutes and 30 seconds in because you just mentioned my name, and I feel like you're accusing me of something, and I don't understand what's going on because I've just reached out to you to say, wait a minute, maybe this guy is telling the truth and I should get him on my show. And now you're telling me you know who I am, so I'd like to know who it is you think I am.
I'm not going to tell you that unless I have to destroy you. And I don't have to destroy you now, so as I said on the tape, I'm going to let you continue doing your thing.
What do you... I think you need to explain yourself, Douglas, because you
I don't need to explain myself.
Why not? You say you know who I am. Who do you think you know? What do you think you know?
This is at least the third or fourth time you have tried to connect with me when the way that I interpreted your messages...
That's wrong.
That you were,
this is the second time
rushing.
I've tried to connect with you.
Whatever. Well, no, you've... And also, people say they've contacted you and you spoke to them, and they have begged me to do something with you for quite some time, for months and months and months. Some person that Betsy is telling me about.
Who?
And I said months ago, yes, I will do that. I don't.
Thomas,
deal with
I
that
have
anymore.
messages. Douglas, I have messages with you and Betsy where she drops off. She doesn't respond. I have been legitimately trying to contact you. You have now gone on a broadcast and accused me of being what? Disinfo?
Well, yeah, what did I accuse you of?
You said that I'm not speaking about SES. You lumped me in with George Webb, and you're doing a thing about fake news war and putting me on the side of fake news is my interpretation of what you just said.
Well, then come out on your opinion of SES. All you have to do is Google it.
I don't know that much about SES, Thomas. I'm a guy who's running a show and invites people like you on to talk about it.
A fifth grader could Google it and understand they found the deep state shadow government.
Well, that's what I've been broadcasting about with Field McConnell, with Robin Gritz. Robin Gritz said SES was a pay grade. I've done broadcasts where I've said, you know, that's what she said, and I think that's because she still can't fully accept how corrupt the FBI is. I mean, what is it that you're implying, Thomas? You think I'm protecting SES?
Let me just say that I've now... You need to listen to the one on Q that we just did, and then you'll understand.
I did listen to that, and I thought... Someone else called me and said that you're accusing me of being something in that. And I was like, we might be misinterpreting it. Let me get back in touch with the guy who hasn't answered my messages since Saturday, who by his own admission didn't answer until late Saturday night. And I've been traveling, coming back from Texas on a flight that was delayed 4 hours, tired as hell. You know, I'm sorry that you miss my messages and I don't respond. I don't even understand what it is that you're trying to say I didn't do. I've been texting you all weekend trying to say, when is a convenient time for you to speak? Sunday? Monday? You're the one who hasn't responded. Now,
I've been available.
Let me ask you something else.
And
I
did
listened
respond.
to your broadcast the other day where you were talking about Seth Rich and that Craig Murray said there was a thumb drive and that Craig Murray is deceased.
No, I said it was delivered to him by the person in the second breach.
And you said now he's dead.
That Craig Murray, it was delivered to Craig Murray, yes.
And Craig Murray is dead?
Isn't he dead?
He is not dead, and he specifically said in an interview that I did with him that there was no thumb drive that he knew of. So what the hell are you up to? Accusing me of shit and telling me that you know who I am and putting out fake news about Seth Rich? I think you need to tell me what it is you think you know about me.
I have it in print, a complete description of Craig Murray receiving the dadgum drive. How could he come on
I've got the man in his own words saying it, Douglas. So why don't you tell me whatever fake information it is you think about me?
I am wrong that he's dead. I thought that he had died. So I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so you're wrong about whatever it is you think you know about me. And the fact that you won't even tell me what it is leads me to believe...
Is that how your logic works?
Well,
because
my logic works in that you're accusing me of things that aren't true. And I've now found other things you've said that are incorrect or untrue. So I want to know what it is that you think you know about me so I can set you straight on whatever fallacy you might be about to drop next. What do you think you know about me?
This is why it's a war. Don't you understand? Don't you understand I'm manipulating you? And don't you understand who's standing behind me manipulating you? Then I guess you just don't get it. It's all in what we said. We dropped the crumbs. I did not mention you in the queue. If you want to take it that I was talking about people that you are in queue.
You say alternative media wars are raging. You say Jason Goodman. I didn't think you were talking about me in the video about Q. Other people told me that you were talking about me in the video about Q, and I said, I don't think so. I'm about to interview the guy. I just haven't been able to get in touch with him. Then you just put out a video right now.
Video on Q? Did you listen? You said you listened to the video on Q?
You don't mention me in that.
Did I say you?
No.
Then they're wrong, aren't they?
Hang on a second. I just said to you I listened to the video about Q and I did not hear my name. So someone said to me they thought you were talking about me. And I said, I don't think that's true. Then I listened to a video that you've just put out today called Alternative Media Wars Are Raging, where you mentioned me by name. And now in this phone call that we're having right now, you told me that you know who I am. So tell me what it is you think.
You know why I said that online?
What?
I manipulated you to call me right now. Don't you get what's going on?
Why did you need to manipulate me to call you when I've been trying to reach you all weekend?
That's the whole point. And look, I did. And that tells me your true intent. I've been sitting here waiting to talk to you for a long time. And I was going to give you some pretty cool information because what we do here is real. Nothing is fake.
How is what I'm doing not real? I don't know you. I sent you an email. Your wife said, okay, here's the guy's thing. You messaged me on Skype. I wrote back to you on Skype. I said, when's a good time to talk? You said, oh, sorry, it's obviously too late tonight. I just got this message. Sorry, let's talk tomorrow. The next day, I messaged you again, and I said, what's a good time? Sunday, Monday? You said nothing. Today is Monday. I've been messaging you. Nothing. So I finally called you because you put out a slanderous thing about me.
I haven't even gone to my messages for a while since I messaged you back and said that I was available.
So what the hell are you talking about?
And I didn't get a contact from you. So if you say you messaged me, I don't know what you messaged.
Open up Skype.
Where did you
and
message
look at
me on
it.
Skype?
Open up Skype and look at it. That's how you and I have been communicating. Open up Skype and look at it and tell me that I didn't message you. There are messages from yesterday and today waiting for a response from you. And now you've accused me of something. And you tell me you know who I am. Let me ask you this. You're former NSA. Why should I trust you at all? How do I know you're not still working for the NSA?
Because I'm honest and I always tell the truth.
Okay,
that's the reason I can't get caught and no one can do anything to me.
That Craig Murray is dead? Is that the truth? It's the truth that Craig Murray received the thumb drive?
Actually, the person I'm speaking of, I'll go back to the article, and there's a person who was connected to that who died but he died of natural causes, and he also was aware of it. I believe that's the person that Craig Murray told this story to, and then he took his words. But I'll go back. We have it all in writing.
I heard
nothing
you say
we have
that Craig
ever
Murray
said,
received a thumb
nothing
drive
in
and that
any
he's dead.
intelligence report we have ever made in writing has ever been contested and proven incorrect. And so
I'm listening
I will go
to your
back to the
videos.
intelligence
I'm not
report.
reading your
But
writing.
what I want to say is the following. There is a mistake we made, and I want to ask you a simple question. What happened between you and George Webb?
I'm happy to answer that question. After my career in Hollywood went down considerably from a financial standpoint because the production of 3D movies in Hollywood was not happening anymore, I lost all my money and I came back to an apartment that I owned in New York, and my wife left me. I've spoken about this on air. And I was trying to decide what to do with the next 40 years of my life, and I became disgusted with the fake news that people were spreading through social media. So I decided I was going to try to become a journalist, and I was watching alternative news, and George Webb was one of the channels that I came upon. One day, George Webb said, "Hey, I'm going to Washington, D.C., and if anybody knows Lee Stranahan, send this message to him." I've known Lee Stranahan for over 20 years because Lee also had a previous career in visual effects in Hollywood. So I sent George Lee's phone number, and you can ask George and you can ask Lee. And so George and I were now in communication. And I started working with George. I was intrigued by his information and as his sociopathic behavior, which is obvious to many people. He's a very charismatic guy. I don't know if that's a sociopath or a psychopath, but, you know, I was charmed by his kindness, etc., intrigued by his knowledge, intrigued by his investigation, and I began working with him. And I wanted to start a business of, a news channel called Crowdsource the Truth. And I had a very small following, and George had a very large following. And I said, George, why don't we work together? I can't really afford to pay you, but I have an apartment in New York. You could sleep on the couch, then you don't have to pay for hotels. I could pay for our food and our travel, and I can't give you a salary, but I'll cover the expenses, and let's work together, and let's build up Crowdsource the Truth. And he said, okay. And we started doing that. But as it turns out, George is an alcoholic. And I had a very difficult time dealing with that. And when I told George, I don't want you to be drunk on camera when we're doing broadcasts. I don't care what you do when we're done for the day. You're an adult, you make your own decisions, and as long as you control it and it doesn't control you, that's fine. He agreed he wasn't going to drink on camera. The next day, half an hour before we were supposed to go live, he wasn't here. I went down to the bar around the corner from my apartment, and there he was drinking. So he lied to me. So I threw him out of here, and I told him, and I believe I've spoken about all of this on air, I told him, go to Alcoholics Anonymous, get a sponsor, and have the sponsor call me before you return here. And he hasn't done that. Plus, George Webb has told a number of lies specifically about me. As recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago, he doxed my ex-wife, who I guarantee you has nothing to do with any of this. He's done a number of malicious things, including supporting my enemies in trying to proliferate information that I'm Mossad, that I'm a porn star, that I'm involved with pedophiles in Hollywood, none of which is true, none of which anyone has presented any evidence to support. And that's what happened between me and George Webb.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who George Webb is?
I don't, but I have my suspicions.
You took him into your home, you let him attempt to destroy you,
and
you don't even know his
name,
name, do you?
His name is George Swigert, as far as I know.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know who he worked for?
He worked for McAfee. He worked for Der Spiegel.
Do you know what agency he worked for?
No, I don't. I mean, he's said Mossad. Tell me, what agency did he work for?
So after all of that, you want me to tell you who you let into your apartment, and then you want me to tell you that these people you call your enemies, who they really are. So you don't know who George Webb is. So I threw down a gauntlet. He picked it up. He is such an idiot. He must have been drinking before one of those because he told us on air who he was and who he worked for. and who his bosses were. And because we know the details that G16 only exists through the Federal Senior Institute and the OPM, if you are intelligence. And then he said, oh, Bulldog Doug. Bulldog Doug? Bulldog Doug Gabriel? Really? Is my name Doug Gabriel? Really? What do you know about me, George Webb? I know your real name. I know who you work for. I know where you get your money. I know why he attacked you, and I know why he set you up to attack others so that they would attack you, and you don't know any of this?
You know, I am a guy who went to public high school in Syosset, New York, college at NYU, and then started a company called 21st Century 3D. And I've been making dopey industrial 3D videos and then a couple of Hollywood movies, and that's who I am. I'm a guy that knows how to run cell phone cameras and broadcast over the internet. And my whole entire business model has been to create a news channel where I bring on journalists and FBI, whistleblowers, CIA whistleblowers, investigators like Charles Ortel. I had hoped to bring in someone like you, but I don't know you, Doug. I don't know if you're for real. I don't know who you're working for or what you're doing, and I don't know who you think I am or what I know. I know George Webb is a motherfucker, and that's about all I know. If there's something
I guess I know more about you and how you've been manipulated than you know.
Maybe you do, and I would love to know about it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't even know where to begin with you, Jason. You should have called me a long time ago. Let me tell you, you're in over your head and your life is in danger. Did you see the new Q squared post that Millennium Report just put up?
No, I heard you talking about it in your broadcast. I heard you saying it had anti-Semitism in it, and I presume it was created by Manuel Chavez or people working with him.
That's very naive. Let's just say you haven't even scratched the surface in all these people you've talked to, because half of the people you're talking to are already, they're on the other side, Jason. You're giving voice to the caricature. You're feeding the tail that wags the dog. I guess you don't know that because you don't even know who George Webb is. I can't tell you, but George Webb told you, listen to his tapes, listen to the way that he came unglued, because I threatened his thing.
I think George works for Barack Obama. That's what I think.
That would be correct, but you have to be a whole lot more specific about it.
I think he's working for someone who's trying to protect Obama.
Jason, do you realize the game that you're in? Do you realize that when you say, or you get someone to say one wrong word, what's going to happen?
Maybe I don't.
To you?
No.
Are you really that naive? You're doing this as a business?
Well, I'm doing this because I feel like the news on CNN and MSNBC and Fox is total bullshit, and that we've got criminals like Hillary Clinton trying to take over, and I'm trying to do what I can to stop that.
That's all well and good. How do you pay for it?
I pay for it by going on Patreon and having people send me money. I sold all of my camera equipment. I have been involved in other businesses. George made reference in one of our old videos to me having multiple lawsuits going on. If you go back and look at the videos from from 21st Century 3D, on my 21st Century 3D YouTube channel, which is still active and has videos from several years ago, you will see me. There are two videos on there. One where I'm at the Cannes Film Festival in France, and one where I'm at the British Film Institute in London. And in both of those videos, I'm launching a company called AeroCine, which was a micro aerial cinematography company. We were one of the first companies to use UAV helicopters, multi-rotors, to fly cameras around. And I was the CEO of that company. I'm not going to go into the details of how the two partners, well, one of them remains now, but how the partners of that company...
Jason, I know all
Wait a minute.
You're wasting my time.
Well, you just asked me how I pay for it. Do you want me to answer it, or do you want me to accuse me of things that you claim to know?
I want you to point blank answer it if you do dare.
There was a lawsuit, and there was a settlement in that lawsuit in which I prevailed.
I know all of this.
I did get some money.
What do you... I guess you don't know. You have no clue who you're talking to, do you?
I don't. That's why I wanted to talk to you, to try to get to know you. When I first heard about you, I thought you were lying because someone who I thought I trusted told me something that was the opposite of what you said. But when I contacted you again last week, I said I've now come to believe that that person may have been deceiving me and that you may have been telling me the truth.
Jason, this is what I'm going to tell you. I went easy on you. The people who asked me to destroy you, which I can, I didn't. George Webb is destroyed. He's been called out. He's done. Other people are done. People went down in the last few days when you were trying to reach me. Had you reached me, I would have said the following. You don't know what you're talking about with Michael Horowitz, and if you don't read the things that we read as intelligence reports, your life is in danger if you actually think you're being an honest person. You will be squished. You will be completely squished.
I haven't said anything about Michael Horowitz. I don't know anything about Michael Horowitz.
No, I'm not saying Michael Horowitz, and I'm not going to mention the triggers. But you saw, as we pointed out, we tried to warn people. So hopefully, I guess you didn't understand. Q1, that's the real deal. They were taken over. Do you think you have a chance? The only way you have a chance is if you're like a George Webb and you're still working for the government.
I have never been working for the government. And if you think that I have, then you don't know a damn thing.
No, I'm saying if you are like that, sometimes you just need to listen to the end of what I'm saying. George Webb is exactly what you think he is on one level and the exact opposite of what you think he is. He's not working for the Second American Revolution. He's working for the overthrow of the government.
I agree with that.
He's here for one reason and one reason alone, to obfuscate the people who were involved in the largest espionage theft in American history. That is his entire job.
I know that. Why did George Webb avoid speaking about the evidence that my team discovered at 4809 Sprayer Street that indicated that Imran Awan had an illicit server locked in that shed? Why did he go to the house that day that I did that report and show the shed in the backyard, which is the wrong shed, and the second the garage shed, a sliver of an inch of that garage shed got onto his camera, he turned the view back to his face, specifically avoiding that garage shed. He's never spoken about the evidence that we discovered that indicates a high-speed internet account and an off-site server that was warehousing data. Why did the Washington Post take a prom king picture of Imran Awan the next day and run a story that said there's no evidence at that house? We discovered evidence at that house.
Well, what about the evidence that was found that was smashed? Who do you think smashed it?
I have no idea. Like I'm telling you, Douglas.
Let me tell you, you should know who smashed it. Why do you think someone was chasing every single lead to close it up before
George
the Inspector General? Thank you. The Inspector General said that Imran and his gang are guilty on all charges. What do they have? Dozens of charges of espionage. It's not moving forward. Thank you very much, George Webb.
Douglas, I have tons of evidence that indicates that George Webb has lied about a number of things, including as recently as 2 days ago, he put up a tweet saying that he's gotten only $20,000 from Patreon, which I can tell you right now. The time that he put that tweet out, he had 239 supporters. I've got 320, and I've come nowhere near 20,000 in the whole time I've been doing it, okay? So for him to have gotten $20,000 from 239 supporters since he began that Patreon account in August, that means every single one of the 239 would need to have been active since then, and each would have to be paying every single month an average of $11.90 per person. And I can tell you that most of the people who are subscribed to my Patreon channel are putting between $1 and $5, with some people doing 10 and some people doing as much as 25, but that's very rare. Most people are doing about $5 or $1. So I find it
Jason,
unlikely that George has made $20,000.
I know where his money comes from. You are correct. I know where his money comes from. But that's not the issue. The issue is much bigger here because you didn't even understand you were played.
I did understand I was played, but what am I supposed to do about it? As soon as I figured it out, I threw him out. How is Manuel Chavez getting private text messages from George? Why is George sending messages with Robert David Steele as in July when he was living here? Why is Robert David Steele? George brought Robert David Steele to this show. George brought Kim.com and Manuel Chavez to this show, and Trish Negron. Queen Tut is also probably working for Robert David Steele, Susan Holmes, Susan Lutsky, whatever the fuck that crazy lady's name is. She's spreading lies about me.
You're doing a good job naming the caricatures.
The operatives. Yes. Well, so I haven't come out and said all of this, Douglas, because I don't have evidence, and I am working behind my own scenes to try to protect myself, to try to keep myself out of jail, to try to protect my reputation. What these people are doing is they are, through a series of anonymous losers, proliferating a bunch of fake bullshit around the internet with the intent to get me arrested. So George's crazy brother, Dave Swiger...
And you're proliferating their disinformation.
How am I doing that?
And you believe that Steele or a Webb, that they're poor and they're begging for money and they're a struggling alternative news site.
How am I proliferating their information, Douglas?
By being on air with them and letting them
When's the last time I had Robert David Steele or George Webb on my program?
But wait, you worked with him. You started
months ago.
Months. So what months? We've been putting out this information for 2 years.
I didn't know about you until a couple of weeks ago. Do you think I know everything? I don't have an all-seeing agency behind me. I'm one fucking guy in an apartment with 3 cell phones.
Well, then you need to fucking disappear and go to Ecuador before you're dead.
No, I'm not going to do that. How do I know that you're who you say you are?
The best warning I can. I called you today. I made you call me today.
You didn't call me today.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
When did you call me today?
I made 2 videos today that made you call me today so I could tell you what I'm telling you.
Why didn't you answer one text message I sent you?
And by the way, I could have picked up the phone and dialed your goddamn number because I have it. So you don't know who you're talking to. Let me tell you who you're talking to. A little tiny fucking hint, since you didn't understand either one of the tapes I made specifically for you to understand. I thought I made them simple enough. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I guess I need to spell it out. You are being played. You are supporting disinformation, and the minute they're done with you, they're going to throw you off a bridge.
Who is they?
What the fuck don't you know about that?
Who is they? Who's giving me disinformation?
Let me give you a little tiny hint of what I'm speaking of. George Webb contacted one of my most secret inner group, who he had already manipulated into him, because of course he's a psychopath. Don't you think we've been watching him from the beginning? Who do you think set up some of his sites for him?
Sites?
Don't you think we're watching him? Don't you think we set him up to see how much they're willing to tell so that we know that that's disinformation, so we know where to look next?
I have had no confirmation of my thoughts regarding George Webb. I have oscillated between thinking he's an alcoholic psychopath to maybe he is Mossad or CIA or I don't know. And I have settled on, I believe, and this is just my own thought process from looking at all the information, I believe he's working for some sort of private security company that engages in political opposition research, and he's working to protect Barack Obama. That's my belief. I have no intelligence training. I have limited information, limited support, and limited money from a lawsuit against a helicopter company that I started, the sale of my camera equipment, savings, and the money that people send me from doing this internet show.
You're in over your head. You're drowning. I'm going to tell you one more time. I will tell you, this is a test. You fuck it up, I will take you out. George Webb is a G16. He works for the Department of Intelligence, Department of Defense. That means he works for the Board of Broadcasting Governors, like half the fucking people you're supporting do. He gets paid because he was a DIDOD. He said it right on the tape because he must be a fucking crazy man, which we know.
I don't even know what any of that stuff is.
I know you don't. So me telling you is a test. But I'm telling you, you wanted to know? I'm telling you all but his real telephone number, where he really lives, his real family, his real name, and his retirement funds, which we have all that information. Now, going on, George Webb just admitted the other day he had breakfast with GS-13s, 14s, 15s, and 16s. He's the 16. He is retired, DOD. When I keep talking about people who work for the Global Engagement Center, he worked for something similar to that before it became that officially. He is a disinformation expert. That's the reason he's psychotic. That is a fake. Believe it or not, that is the way that the CIA convinces you that they're real, is they act like addicts and psychotic. Just read the first books, any of the subterfuge books. Okay, so you have been more than played because you've been played by the people who you think you're trying to take down. He is SES, but he's more than SES. He's SIS, but he's more than SIS. He was one of the original SCS, which doesn't exist anymore. So
when's the last time I did anything to help George Webb?
I'm telling you that you are still helping other people who are just like
him. Tell me who, so that if I know, I'll stop helping. Why? Why not?
Because they've all been tested now. They've all been given the test. Did you listen to the Q tape? Did you try to figure out the riddle? Do you even have a clue about the riddle?
I listened to it once. I'll listen to it again. I'm not Batman. I can't figure out riddles. I mean, I interview people and put out shows.
No, you're trying to bring down the deep state, which is unraveling the Gordian knot. It's the biggest riddle you've ever handled, and you are actually interviewing people who are being played, who are anti-Trump.
Well, tell me who, and I'll stop. Charles Ortel? No. Harmon Wilfred? No. Who?
You were in the middle of an operation.
I have suspected that.
And I am not at liberty to tell you many things. I am at liberty to give you one last warning for your own sake because I like you. People told me not to fucking do this. Don't speak to you. And I said, no, I am going to prove to you how good I am. I will make him call me today. And when I do, I'm going to tell him who George Webb is. And guess what? 750 people we work with, he won't know what I'm talking about. And he will not take my advice because I'm called Cassandra. And this is Jason Goodman. I know you're going to tell me to get off the phone. I'm giving him a warning. I'm sorry. I'm giving him a warning. Don't speak. I'm done with him. Hang on. So, Jason, any other question you have for me? I just told you what I needed to tell you because I love you, brother, and I feel for you, and I'm trying to save you. But you do what you want. Be free. Be happy. Any other thing you want to ask me that you might think I might be able to ask, or anything you want me to clarify that I've said?
Well, you're basically telling me to stop doing Crowdsource the Truth and go away. Is that what I understand?
For your own life, yes. If you wish to live, yes. Not because I'm going to have anything to do with it, because these patterns are very clear to follow. You will be annihilated and destroyed, probably much worse than death, very soon.
Why should I trust and believe you? I don't know you at all, and you're telling me that you love me.
Go to Millennium Report and read it, and then wake up. They're not going to be putting anything out now, are they, for a while?
I don't even know who Millennium Report is or why they would or
well,
would
then
not.
You don't know the best source that you should have been using the entire time. Okay, I'm going to give you another piece of advice. If you want to continue this, which I'm telling you would be very foolish and you will be annihilated, you need to do your homework. If you don't know who Millennium Report is, and you don't know who we are, and you haven't been reading our intelligence reports, you're in a war that you are going to be drowned in, and no one will even know. They won't even know you're a casualty. They won't even know you're gone until you're gone for a long time. And you better, in my opinion, take a look at every person that you're interviewing and ask if they are just like George Webb and what I've told you about him.
I've been trying to do that, and I'm doing that with you, and have been doing that with you since you
can't do it with
into my
me.
sphere.
You don't have a fucking clue who we are.
I'm doing it in the way that I'm able to do it. I listen to the things that you say, and I evaluate them against other things that other people have said. When you say that Craig Murray received a thumb drive and now he's dead, and I spoke to Craig Murray and know that he's still alive and told me that there was no thumb drive as far as he knows, I begin to question you.
He didn't say thumb drive. He said a memory device. So you can mince words, but you can also
I'm not mincing words. I'm listening to what you said, and I'm listening to what he said.
Who did Craig Murray work for? Do you know that?
He worked for the British government, as far as I know. He was the British ambassador.
Thank you very much. That should be enough for you to understand. And also, when I said he dead, it was the person I believe who wrote the article. I would send that to you, but I don't think you would even read that intelligence report. My advice is go read all of our intelligence reports before you do any more interviews. And in them, you will see that the people that you're interviewing that have opposite views of us, those opposite views are told to them. That is disinformation.
Well, I agree with that now. That's why I called you again.
Conflicts with our intelligence reports, they are wrong. Ask why. That's all I had to say. I'm not going to interview with you. I don't give a shit about who you're interviewing with about Horowitz. You should have listened to me from the beginning, because I am speaking for hundreds of the most brilliant people in the fucking world, and you don't even have a clue, because I just told you who they were today, and you ain't never going to figure it out. But save your ass. Get out of the business. I'm done with you.